Welcome to our Shield of the Sun video entitled Vince McMahon, Part 6. During the match, Vince would abuse his son and mother and lose the match as Trish turns on him and gets out of working with McMahon, who used her like a ragdoll prostitute during their work together. At that WrestleMania, storyline angle was going to be done as a way to shock the fans, but really it was a stupid and really a truly pathetic idea that made no sense to do other than to make people angry. They wanted Austin to turn on the fans and make an alliance to Vince McMahon as one does selling out to the devil. In real life, Austin did just that, and McMahon is actually his handler when he became Austin Stone Cold, and they hatched out his fame. Now that relationship was going to be exposed in a subversive way at that WrestleMania. The idea was not popular with The Rock because he wanted a straight match with no interference from Vince, but Vince is the boss, and so The Rock shut his mouth and played his role, and Austin went along with it, trusting Vince knew what he was doing, but this time he was dead wrong. Austin would have one of the greatest matches of his career against The Rock, but when Austin took the chair from Vince to show they were allies, and he brutally hit The Rock with it over and over again, and then pinned him to become world champion and shook Vince's hand and had a beer with him, no one was shocked. They were either pissed off or turned off by the WWF, or they simply refused to believe Austin was working with McMahon, and they told themselves that Austin went nuts, and so he is mentally messed up and is doing weird things, and so Austin tries to do everything he could to get the fans to hate him, and I mean everything he could, from injuring wrestlers, from vicious and repeated chair shots, to beating up announcers, to degrading fans, and much more, and no matter what he did, the fans refused to believe it and took them as actions of a confused man. That was not what they scripted, of course. And so in 2001, the WWF buys its worst competition, WCW, for $5 million, which is pennies to McMahon, and the WWF was supposed to have a conquering year, but instead they lose money, ratings drop, and fans send angry comments and letters regarding storylines and their pay-per-view hypes all became watered down because they're not getting what they wanted the most, which was a heroic Austin, their fabled hero, was not in play, and so that year becomes a disappointment to fans, but yet the WWF still made lots of money. Go figure that out, and once again you will see that we are lost without Christ. The invasion storyline, which could have been one of the best of all time, was sabotaged due to the way they treated Austin's character, who was a world champion at the time. The focus of that idea, that bad idea regarding Austin, came from the creative department, which was headed by Stephanie McMahon at the time, whose boy toy and husband Triple H was in the hospital, recovering from a brutal torn quad in his knee, an injury that ends football careers. Stephanie was not a writer. She was someone with a lot of overblown ideas, and she had a hateful imagination, and she knew how to anger people, but her ideas mostly came from her father and her Illuminati handlers. She was not skilled in putting those ideas together, and throughout 2001, 2002, and throughout the years, they had weak and stale storylines of the WWF, WWE. This is the result of bad management in the creative department, headed by Stephanie N. Helmsley, who used it to maintain the World Championship belt for all those months at a time, and at the expense of more better hyped wrestlers, so hate them till this day for sabotaging their careers, and that list is long and prominent, like Austin, Big Papa Pump, Goldberg, Shawn Michaels, Kevin Nash, Chris Jericho, and many others. The stories do not grab you anymore. They are stale and repetitive, the same things over again with a flashy look. Most insiders working for the WWE knew how awful Stephanie and Hunter are at that job, but Vince protects them and shelters them and fires anyone who opposes them and tells the truth about them. Right now, Vince, who is still the owner, has given more power to Stephanie and Helmsley, while Shane has distanced himself from the company. Vince thinks his company is in the right hands with Stephanie and Helmsley, showing you that Vince got so cocky, so full of sin and himself over the years, that he is not as smart as he used to be. He has gotten dumber and cannot see that, if the storylines don't improve, another WCW-like event will happen to him, and they won't recover from it. This is the end to our Shield of the Sun video on Vince McMahon. God bless you, and pray for all those who are in the professional wrestling business, They truly do need your prayers. Many of them are very much abused victims, being used by men like Vince McMahon. God bless you and good night.